Okay, excuse me. This session is basically on the history, our history, the Bible. You know how we watch History Channel, but it tells us about the Bible. Okay, the one thing is really important that people need to know that I guess read it but don't practice it. Or I don't know because I haven't seen anyone do it. But there's something I'm going to tell you that might make you want to think about it, possibly do it. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you about an experience that I also went through. I go through a lot of things and I can't wait to tell on YouTube. But anyways, you know how the Bible, when you're reading it, it basically explains like how some of the verses go. God said to sacrifice, do a sacrifice. If they sacrifice something, He would give them bread, you know, or whatever they wanted. They needed to sacrifice. Okay, in my story, it was when I had my youngest son, born healthy, to not even a week. Like a week later, my son stopped breathing, his heart stopped beating. He just kept giving up, and I was wondering, like, did I do anything wrong? Look, I wasn't religious. I wasn't the type who liked to go to church. I just went or anything like that. Didn't even like to pray, really. But nowadays, that's what I do. I'm the type who prays. I pray, I still don't go to church as often, but, anyways, my son was in the ICU, intensive care unit, if you don't know. He was on a heart monitor. Also, every time his heart stopped beating, they were on him, trying to make his heart beat. I was all crying. I don't know what I would have done. I think I would have lost my mind, and that's sad. A strong-minded lady losing their mind. No, it shouldn't happen like that. The kids are my world, and I don't know what I would have done if I lost my son. At first when what I noticed with my son, he looked kind of dark purplish, and I kept telling my ex, the baby's father.
I'll be coming starting of May, so first week.
Doesn't he look kind of
first week of May? Yeah, so
weird or
let me see
purplish to you?
Hold on a second.
All right, so continue the story. I was saying that I was asking baby daddy, doesn't my son look kind of like weird, because he was dark and purple. Didn't look like he was moving or anything, like a normal baby would do. And so we were getting ready to go pick up his birth certificate in San Jose. We were staying in Redwood City, and normally what I do is ride in the passenger seat while the baby sits in the back. We had a van, and for some reason I was like, no, I'll sit in the back with the baby, and we had the baby in its car seat, and still no movement, no nothing. And I was like, man, my baby don't look like he's breathing. And I was like, I was like, hey baby, normally they make those kind of, move, but my baby didn't do that. He didn't move at all. And I was like, I was like, oh hell no. So I picked up the baby and I was like trying to shake him, like, oh baby, wake up, you know. And then he gasped. He took a big gasp for air, like you know, like he woke up, not, you know, from not breathing. And I was like, oh no, take me to the hospital right now, you know. And that from there, he went to the hospital. Dude, he brought me to Kaiser Hospital. That was the closest hospital. I went to the emergency department, and you know, I was like, my baby's not breathing, can someone help me? And the administrative office was like, you know, where you check in, was like, oh, you're at the wrong, you know, the wrong place. And I was like, what do you mean? I go, my son's not breathing. They're like, you're at the wrong place. I go, ain't I at the emergency room, you know, department? They said, technically, yeah, but they don't handle babies. I go, the emergency that handle babies is across the street. And I was like, are you serious? You're gonna make me go across the street? And they said they can't do nothing about it, which I should have sued the hell out of them. So what I didn't know was across the street was across through the parking lot. You know, I had to run all so far, you know, because it's a big parking lot. You know how hospitals have big parking lots, you know, just to get across the street to where I needed to go. And I was like, ooh. But anyways, once I got there, they had the baby, you know, I had to wait in line apparently again. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was really bad. I don't know about Kaiser, but you guys better think about it. Think about that. Anyways, talking about the story, my son wasn't getting any better. They were doing several tests and everything, you know. They're saying it was this, it was that, you know, but they really didn't know. And my son still was not, you know, had a hard time. He would just stop breathing. And I got desperate. So I prayed to God to forgive me if I've done anything wrong, you know, and instead of taking his life, to take mine. But apparently, because I lived my life, he didn't. They didn't take my life. He didn't want to. So I, you know, another story, when I was a little kid, I always had that feeling of money gonna come to me, like I was supposed to be rich, you know. There are feelings that people have that don't tell nobody, like a feeling that's supposed to happen to them, but they just keep it to themselves. Well, this was one of them. And I've had, like, I was curious, had several psychics, you know. I did actually pay a psychic in Las Vegas, but she also told me that I was going to have a lot of money, which I prayed to God, you know, with how many kids I have, money was really good for me and my kids, because I have a lot of kids. And I prayed to God, you know, to take that away, that I would give that up, basically, for the life of my son. I prayed to God that money, although it was important to me, is really not important, and that my son's life was more important than that. And ever since that day I prayed, I don't have that feeling anymore. And I was in the hospital, you know, sitting watching my baby, you know. Actually, I just got done feeding him and he was sleeping, and the doctor came up to me and said, yeah, they just performed a bunch of tests again and could not find anything wrong with him, but he was getting better. For some reason, he didn't need the breathing treatment, or they still had him on the heart monitor just to monitor the heart, but he was getting better, and the doctor was like, couldn't find nothing. So I was like, okay, so I go, then stop all that testing, because you're testing him for no reason if you don't know why he's getting better. And that's when it hit me that I realized what I just did was I sacrificed something just to save his life, which I don't regret doing. I'm so glad, because my baby is funny. He's really funny, good personality, etc. But take it into consideration, people in the world today, that the Bible is there for a reason, and if you do believe what I just told you, because seriously, you can save somebody you truly love just by doing that. So think about it. Till then.